Explain yourself.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast. He jumped up and...
That's Austin Nace.
Who is going to be that guy? And for me, Bijan Robinson is still going to be that guy.
Back to the ground with Robinson, who spins and then tries to bounce it. A stiff arm, another one as he rides it, keeps his balance. They're going to say he stepped out, but
I'm Felix Sharp. Say, I know you didn't think that we would get through this episode without mentioning the name one Zach F. Wilson.
Screener draw. Oh, Wilson is going to uncork for the end zone, and he drops it in beautifully. And it is his roommate, Dax Milne, on the touchdown.
That's Matt Bruning.
G. Scott Jr. Obviously, I waxed poetic about him on the last episode, so I won't do that again here.
And it's Thomas Fields on the carry. Watch out. Justin Fields. Hello, Columbus. 51 yards.
Bruning, are you ready to go head-to-head with me?
I am.
Got to get my popcorn out here. Hold on.
Got to continue. I got it. Kyle McCord is going to end up winning the job. He's going to be rated higher.
Well, I'm not nearly as passionate about what I'm about to talk about.
Our apologies to Coach Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled soon. And for Matt Bruning and Austin Nace, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck.
You know, I'm wondering if Mike Valerie is right. He has made fun of us saying that we can't call the show Devy Debate because we don't talk about Devy. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. I don't know if he's wrong. We probably it's because of the format that we're promoting here, Campus Can. We dive deeper than just, the top 20 running backs. Should the name of the show be changed?
No. Alliteration means everything. Just be honest.
Is that your analysis?
That's my analysis.
I mean,
it's a good point, though. Hard to argue with alliteration.
It's a great point.
What are you going to call this? Campus Can't Debate? That doesn't.
Yeah, we go college debate. Like that makes no. We're gonna get Will Ferrell up here and we're like, oh, I blacked out. For a minute. It's in the middle of an argument.
It's really like college football discussions. Is that too long of a name? Please.
Yeah, nobody's turning into CFD. That's what we'd have to call it. Nobody's gonna the full name.
Tweet at Campus to Canton. Let us know, is college football discussions with Matthew, Chris, and Felix and Austin. Is that too long of a name for a show? This is actually week 1, guys. So we're going to get information. We're going to get new data points to base our analysis on. We have some old data points to base our analysis on from week 0. I think the most impactful game from a Devy perspective was the North Carolina game. You've got George Pettaway, you've got Amarian Hampton, you've got Drake May, you got Andre Green. Phil Longo has produced NFL players for a long time. So we were paying attention to that one. But FAMU and HBCU in Tallahassee had 20 players ineligible, including multiple starters. I think it was 3 starters, but they were down to 7 or 8 offensive linemen, 2 of whom went down in the game. Of course, that's what happened. Austin, we know that this was about money. They got $450,000 to play. That's what was on the line for them playing this game. Should they have played this, man? Should FAM have played this particular game?
I've gone back and forth on this all week. I think, the money is obviously why they did it. They that money probably runs their athletic department for basically the entire year. I think there's something to be said for the fact that it sounds like it was a self-inflicted wound on FAMU's part. At least like I don't we're gonna get like the full story on this. We haven't yet, at least to my knowledge. Like maybe the full story is just the compliance office messed up. That it could be as easy that I feel like there might be something else that's going along with it. The fact that it was self-inflicted means that they probably should have played it. Like if it had been outside of their control, I think you say, maybe this is not best for these kids. But that's kind of my take on it. But like, I've gone back and forth in this all week. Like you just said, I mean, how many offensive linemen they have left at the end of the game? I mean, you're a snap away from putting out D lineman or a tight end or just somebody that shouldn't be out there. I mean, that is dangerous at a certain level.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the takeaway UNC is a team that has ACC championship aspirations. They were great for 2.5 to 3 quarters. They were getting passing the ball on UNC. Tony Grimes supposed to be a very good player. I think he might have went down with a concussion in this game. Don't quote me on that. But the running backs, Moxley, Omarion Hampton was the value in C2C startup drafts. George Pettaway was going a little bit earlier because he was in the spring. Was Hampton the better value, who ended up being Campus Canton's freshman of the week?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue that he wasn't, right? I mean, he came out 14 carries, over 100 yards, a fairly dominant performance. I thought Pettaway looked great as well. So there's a lot of Hampton hype. I also want to give Pettaway his due. Like he looked pretty good as well. At cost, Hampton is definitely the value. And I actually want to touch on something Austin said about whether or not they should have played this game. It funds the athletic department. That is one thing. They probably don't have football without these games. That's just true. That's how a lot of matchups work and why these teams play these teams, because they get like $1 million, $500,000 to $1 million to play. These games have to happen. However, they put their players at a lot of risk, and the players penned an open letter to the administration yesterday, I believe, detailing their grievances and stuff. And I side with the players a lot on this. Player safety means they should not have played in any capacity. They were down their best player, Isaiah Land. He's a phenomenal linebacker, and he couldn't play. So they were going in, risking a lot with their injuries, and you have to feel for the players who had a lot on the line, like injury-wise, career-wise. They had to do it to maintain probably the football program long-term. Like, you have to play these games, and I feel for that. But, man, these players got a really bad end of the deal.
I agree with you on that, but we've seen that the schools don't care. Like it's kind of been shown to us over decades of college football that they don't care about that stuff. Is that not fair to say?
I almost wonder if, for most instances, I don't think schools care because this is money in the administration's pocket and they can do what they want with it for the most part. This game matters to the Florida A&M football program. Without this, I don't know. Each year, them playing a school and getting $500,000 to $1 million. That helps keep the program afloat. That's not money going to the administration's pocket as much. And so I have a lot more sympathy for this situation versus in teams who are just rolling out injured dudes and saying we want to win. I don't know. I think this is a very different situation. It's really complex because of it.
So I also don't want to go at Felix's first show back here, but I also want to kick back on the Omarion Hampton is just a better value right now. It's one game in week 0. We don't know that he's going to continue to get 100 yards every single game and be better. You said he's a better value than George Pettaway. I think it's fair to say we don't know the answer to that right now. It's week 0. He hasn't done anything throughout the.
You could probably trade Omarion Hampton for more than what you acquired him for. And I mean that player, he is raw. He is a 225-pound dish back, but he doesn't yet run like it. He doesn't thump through tacklers. Uses more elusiveness. He may learn how to play with more aggression, like a Javonte Williams who went there. I also want to touch on something Austin said, which is calling FAMU FAMU. We just generally don't say that. We call it FAM. Kwame Kilpatrick, former Detroit mayor, former FAMU offensive lineman. Matt, Drake May looked good. He was inaccurate at times, hitting Josh Downs in the feet on at least two touchdowns that I saw, or two passes that I saw. QB 18. Are you okay with that? Cade Klubnik, we've got right above him. Grayson McCall, we've got right above him. QB 18, does that sound about right?
No, I mean, that's not the way my rankings look. I got actually roasted by, I believe, Moxley and Alfred for having Cade Klubnik as far down in my QB rankings as I did. So I would not have Klubnik ahead of, I forgot who we were even talking about now here. Drake May. I would not have him ahead of Drake May or Grayson McCall. I don't see any real NFL upside with McCall. And I also I don't even necessarily think he could have a better season than May this year. So no, neither one of those makes any sense to me. I mean, I get possibly Klubnik 5-star, number one in his class. There's a lot of talk. I mean, I know Dabo has been out on the trails. We're going to start him. He's our guy, whatever. He's got to actually do that at some point. DJU's got to play bad enough to get benched and Cade Klubnik come in and then show me even something close to what Drake May did. I mean, the one thing about Klubnik is Moxley, we talked about this last week. There's no real true freshmen competing for any jobs at the quarterback position this year. None. The only reason Cade Klubnik is there, I think, is because they're worried about what DJU is going to be, and they just have nobody else in that room. I think we talked a lot about it the last time all four of us were here with the Trevor Lawrence and Kelly Bryant situation. I just do not believe that Klubnik is as refined and as good of a prospect as Trevor Lawrence. So I think throwing him out there and then expecting him to even be as good as Drake May was the other night is a little bit ridiculous, especially with the offense that team is that they've shown that they've run, an offensive line that I don't necessarily think is that good. And I don't even know who their weapons are going to be because I understand Andrew Randall just came back after 3 weeks of tearing his ACL. I need to actually see him out on the field and doing something before I believe that he's actually going to be able to play. So I would not have either one of them ahead of Drake May right now.
I'm inclined to agree with you. The more and more I look at Grayson McCall, I'm like, he's probably not an NFL quarterback. And some guys we have ranked lower than McCall are potential NFL quarterbacks. So, that's something that I'm going to look at. But I want to hit on something you touched on. Austin, if Cade Klubnik starts, I don't know that the situation there is great. Like, I don't know that he is going to be a difference maker. He's not Trevor Lawrence as a prospect. I don't know that he's going to be Deshaun Watson. Do you see him taking the job from DJ Uiagalelei and then elevating the team to a level that DJU couldn't?
Well, if we want to bring this show back to Devy debate roots here, Matt, I've got some problems with what you said. Literally everything you just said about Cade Klubnik could have applied to Drake May a week ago. We had never seen him play.
Ooh,
the offensive line there is poor.
But
we don't know. We don't know what any of the
anything.
weapons look like. They have Josh Downs.
Oh, well, I disagree.
Do you know what? No other wide receiver had more than 5 targets on that team last week. There were drops all over the place. Andre Green had 20 snaps, ran 7 routes, wasn't targeted at all. He's a lot more raw than people want to admit, and he's not going to get out there every game because not every team is Florida A&M. I mean, let's not get this overinflated sense of Drake May because he went out there and beat up a bad team, missing their best defensive player, which we just established, which he just did what he should have done in that game. I'm not going to knock him for it, but let's not. If you put Cade Klubnik out there on that team in that game with those weapons, he does almost the same exact thing.
I agree.
So I think
he doesn't have
Drake
Josh
May should be
Downs
way above. I don't know what we're seeing here. I think like at worst they're basically the same tier. I think it's a tier of 8 or 9 guys, and they're kind of both sitting there.
Matt has May ranked 11.
I do,
and Klubnik ranked 60.
Yeah, still
so not quite the same tier here.
Look, I've been extremely honest this entire time that I do not think Klubnik is a good quarterback. I might end up being wrong on him. He was like my 6th in the freshman class. Like, you guys, again, Alfred said the same thing. I know he's got him as his number 1. That's fine. You guys can believe in Klubnik all you want. He's not that high for me. I don't think he's special in
So this is less of a belief in Klubnik, though, and more of just I feel like you're overreacting to one game.
Well, no, May was already up there for me to begin with, so it's not even overreacting. I've had him there. My point with that is with Klubnik, like I'm not disagreeing with the situation. The difference is, do you have more faith in the play calling at North Carolina or Clemson? Because
Do I have more
guarantee
North Carolina? Which
Okay.
school do you have more faith in to be able to surround them over the course of their 3-4 years there with top talent? I would pick Clemson.
I would not say that based on the past couple classes that Mac Brown's had, though. And if he continues to build that out, like again, we're putting so much on what Clemson's done. Look, one of the best programs the past decade, right? They've won 2 national championships. It's hard to say other teams have done that. I've stated multiple times, I honestly think that was 100% because of Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence and not Dabo Swinney. Do not think he's a good coach. Do not think he's a good recruiter. We complained all summer long about how he recruits the same wide receiver talent, and now we're over here. Well, he brings all these great players in around Cade Klubnik. No, but we can't have both sides of it. What is it? He's not a good recruiter and he brings in the same player, or he brings in all this great talent and surrounds his quarterback.
It seems like you're overestimating what UNC has brought in, though.
Not at all.
I mean, the offensive line, Florida A&M was living in the backfield without their best defensive player against North Carolina. We watched Sam Howell get beat up last year in the same offense, and he was like a guy that had been there, done that.
I think we're giving a feather to what Phil Longo can do development-wise. DK Metcalf, Elijah Moore. Come on now. Daz Newsome.
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown.
That offense.
Yeah, I mean,
that other kid's name. Dawson Knox was there at tight end. DeMarcus Lodge. That's who I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, they've really maybe they haven't recruited as well as Clemson have. They seem to have put more NFL talent.
I mean, if we're listening, I mean, Daz Newsome belongs in the same tier as like Amari Rodgers, though, right? I mean, Justin Ross pre-injury was a great player. T. Higgins. Clemson's put just as many guys in the NFL as Longo has.
They've got DK time range. And I'm giving Phil Longo credit for DK Metcalf. I'm giving him credit for AJ Brown. I mean, those are two. And then Josh Downs. Josh Downs is going to be a first or second round draft pick.
Like, so I'm fine putting Ross up there because you're right. Because of the injury, had he not get the injury, he's probably getting first round draft pick. It's Ross Higgins. That's it.
Wasn't that guy right before Higgins? Now it's completely gone, but I feel like Higgins, like basically there was a baton that went from someone to Higgins and Higgins to Ross, and now I'm blanking.
The only two I remember are Higgins and Ross.
Was Dabo there for?
This is why we need Mike Valerie,
Sammy Watkins,
because he'll know these top, like
Martavis Bryant,
Mike Wallace, and Martavis Bryant.
Yeah, but that was before Tony Elliott's time, wasn't it? Martavis Bryant.
Tony,
I guess it depends. I guess it depends who you want to attach the name to. Do you want to attach it to the coordinator that was there? Are you attaching it to the head coach? Like,
well, we already know I'm not giving Dabo any credit.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I actually think North Carolina's done a bad job of developing talent for what it's worth. They have had consistent like top 12, 15 recruiting classes and have done jack crap with it. This has been a very poor developmental program recently. Just throwing that out there.
I think that's also because of Mac Brown. I mean, that's why Texas didn't ever really put that much into the NFL either. Just being honest.
Let's say hypothetically that you want to support what it is that you're doing, but you don't necessarily play Campus to Canton. Here's a way. If you're playing props, use our promo code on Prize Picks. Promo code C2C. And not only do you get a match of your deposit up to what? Is it $100? A match of your deposit up to $100. But you get a $29.99 credit towards a membership at campus2canton.com. And not only
if you deposit $20, you have to deposit money. We've had a lot of people the past week use that promo code and not deposit anything. You're not going to get anything from us, and you're not going to get anything from Prize Picks either. So just to give people a head, I feel like we're going to getting some emails soon, but from people that haven't gotten anything, and that's why.
Yeah, ain't no free lunches around here. Go ahead and deposit between $20 and $100 if you want to help us out. But you can also, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. If you can use that $29.99 credit for a promotion that we are running right now, you can get the NIL level membership through the season. That includes our betting content. So not only do you get props, you can get our betting content provided by Chris K, Chris Moxley, Alfred, Ethan Sowers.
Brandon Sanders.
And Brandon Sanders. You get our betting content, which is included in our NIL package. So if you want to support what it is that we're doing and taking this grassroots thing national, then go ahead and use our promo code on Prize Picks. Promo code C2C. Promo code C2C. If you want more free stuff, then check out we've got you covered Saturday morning. We've got you covered all Saturday morning. Matt, I'm going to let you do the announcement for what we're doing 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. But you can catch the tailgate from 10 a.m. to 12. We're got you covered. We're going to cover start sits, props, betting. It's our college football morning show at 10 a.m. on the Campus to Canton YouTube page. Check us out there. At around 3:30, or when the first slate of games is done, we are jumping in the Discord with our subscribers to talk about what happened in the first slate of games. And then, of course, we tuck you in at night with college fantasy tonight. Whatever that primetime game, that 8 o'clock game, probably this week it's going to be Ohio State, Notre Dame. When that concludes, we immediately go to college fantasy tonight. For some reason, Austin and Colin on Campus Life have been calling it college football tonight. That is not the name of the show. It is college fantasy. Don't change the name
on me if you want.
Another reason, Another reason. I'm going to look up. So Campus Life is a part of the Fantasy Points Media Group. I'm going to see if we can get Campus Life canceled. I'm going to see if we can find an email address or something that we can send to, it's Graham Barfield that runs Fantasy Points, right? Yeah.
He is part of it.
He's part of it. Listen, I'm going to find somebody's email address, and we can do this together, folks. We can get Campus Life canceled. All right, that's it. So check us out, the tailgate. If you're a subscriber to the website, we jump in the voice chat, the halftime Discord chat, and then college fantasy tonight. In the we get, probably around 11:30 or so, 11, and we recap all of the games. And then, of course, another free way to support us is rate and review. Rate and review the show. Matthew, what do you got? What is this announcement? The people who haven't heard.
So there's two. I'm going to do the easy one first because you didn't read. We are moving Devy Debate. If you guys listen to this on the solo Devy Debate feed, it will no longer be here after the next 3 episodes. We will be done. We are going over to put everything on.
This counts as one.
Yes, this all on the mothership there, C2C feed. That is where you'll be able to find it. So if you guys are only listening on the Devy Debate feed, go subscribe to the Campus to Canton feed. Rate and review there. You guys have done a great job rate and reviewing on the Devy Debate side, but we're moving that over officially to the C2C after 2 more episodes after this. You get 3 altogether. This is 1. You get 2 more.
Wait, before you go to the next one, we've done such a good job on this show of blackmailing and manipulating our audience into rating and reviewing the show, and quite frankly, just bribing the audience with stuff. So if you are a supporter of ours and you haven't rated and reviewed the Campus to Canton podcast feed, please do so. We want to start directing all of our traffic to there. So that is why we are discontinuing the Devy Debate individual feed. Devy Debate is still going to be uploaded on Wednesday night after we're done, but it's going to be on that feed only. Starting in after this show, 2 more shows. You got notice.
Yeah, we did such a good job blackmailing people. They went and left a negative review about me on Campus to Canton's feed about Devy Debate. So it's great stuff. Anyways,
stop yelling. Oh my God.
I'm sorry. No, it was my Ohio State bias, which we taled about before the show too. We got a 1 star because of that. It makes us.
Yeah, Colin McCord was going to win the Heisman as a true freshman at Ohio State.
Absolutely. Anyways, so the big announcement. If you're not following any of us on Twitter, you may have missed it. We announced our new show with Better Sports Network. So every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern, a mixture of the 4 of us, usually 3 of us, will be on every morning for 2 hours preparing you for the college football day. It is, although, a year-round show. So when college football is over, when NFL is over, we'll still be here. We'll still be talking college football, NFL. We're extremely excited for this opportunity. Again, our own radio show for 2 hours every single Saturday. We'll be doing betting, college football, NFL, everything. Anything you can think of. If you like Devy Debate, that's what we're going to try and bring to this radio show. It's what they fell in love with, what we're going to bring over there. To say we're excited is I think an understatement. We can't wait for this opportunity. And if you guys are listening to this on Thursday, Austin and Felix will actually be premiering to kind of give a teaser of what the show will be Thursday from 11 a.m. to noon Eastern time. So make sure to jump on there. It is Better Sports. They have an app. Download it. It's free. You can interact with them during the show. You can even call in during the show and tell Felix, hey, Matt's always right. You're
we
wrong.
totally know what we're doing. We totally know.
We're going to make
doing.
it look
totally
like we
prepared.
do, whether we do or don't.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We totally know what we're doing. Chris Moxley, what did we learn in week 0, if anything?
UNC's offensive line is terrible, and their defense is terrible. They're going to be struggling for a bowl game. I think we didn't learn anything about the Western Kentucky offense. I am very skeptical to take big takeaways from that game. UNLV is still really bad, but they kicked Idaho State's ass, and that was fun. But to be totally honest, I don't think we learned that much. We learned that Wyoming stinks, though. Wyoming stinks. And we've talked about that all offseason.
I got to follow up with you here, Chris, because I think there's some concerning signs from that WKU offense. And not from like the players themselves. I'm really interested in the play calling. I want to see a second game to kind of compare, and they're playing Hawaii this week. It's not a worse team than Austin Peay, or probably not by much. So it'll be a similar, but I went a little bit. I wrote an article about this week, just a little bit about what WKU did this week. Slower pace of game slightly. The pass run split was way off from last year. Last year, they ran about 50 pass plays a game and 25 rush. Like that was about the split. It was about 2/3, 1/3. It was 34-32 this week. It was almost identical, despite the fact that they didn't rush the ball well. So I mean, I don't think some of these guys are as intriguing for fantasy purposes. Like Malachi Corley had a big day. He only had 5 catches, and I think he only had 6 or 7 targets. Like he had 3 touchdowns. That's safe.
He had like 63 yards or something like that.
Some of these guys, there should become some concern if there's not massive volume, that there's going to be some stinker weeks, which we didn't really get out of this offense outside of they played like Notre Dame or something last year that was a bad matchup.
So I feel like I'm on an island on this take because I've seen a lot of the same thing that you're saying. I actually consume our content, so I read your article and I listened to Campus Life.
Thank you.
The show we're trying to cancel, but this week wasn't too bad. It's really hard for me to make big takeaways about this offense with A, they're playing Austin Peay. B, Austin Reed is a quarterback who came from D2. Like, it's not even FCS to FBS, it's D2 to FBS. That's a really big jump. And so if they were running more plays, like rushing plays to start the drives in the first half, which I think they were. I haven't had a chance to look at the data yet, so I am taking it from my observation of the game, which I watched mostly the full game. I'm not ready to throw in the towel on Western Kentucky being some like 50-50 split offense. I don't think it's going to be Bailey Zappi and Zach Kitley, who are both kind of enigmas in like their uniqueness, because Zach Kitley was just such a great offensive coordinator. Though Zappi was an NFL draft pick, we're not going to get that. But I think we're going to get a lot of value, and I'm not ready to write off this system quite yet. Mostly because I think Ben Arbuckle has so much experience with Zach Kitley, and he was Zach Kitley's right-hand man, that I think we're going to see more of it. Week 0, technically, does not scare me as much. But I am like alone in this take. Like, I'm the only one who doesn't think this, apparently.
So I listen to College Life as well a lot. Big fan of the show. And I just figured I'd help Felix out. Since you can't get his show right, I won't get your show right. Consistently, you've talked about on College Life that you are not a believer in Chase Brown. I think the one thing I learned, of course, obviously the injury to McCray is a big deal there. The only thing I really learned is if you have Chase Brown, you're very happy right now. It's likely he's going to dominate all season long. Outside of that, I learned I'm really ready for tomorrow because real football begins.
Jake Haener is playing tomorrow. Cal Poly. I'm going to be paying attention to his 6th year playing. See if he can be an early day 3 draft pick. If you are out there and you know the email that we can send to Fantasy Points to make a complaint, please shoot it to me at Sharp Review on Twitter, and then I'll tweet it out. We'll be able to do this together.
By the way, I love how you casually moved those goalposts on Jake Haener too. First, he's
What do
like
you
a
mean?
back end of the first. Then he's like a
No,
round two.
no,
pick.
no, I've
now
never
all of a
said
sudden
that.
he's
No, that's
he's
not true.
Let's see if he gets a day 3
That's
pick.
that's not
intriguing
true.
60 or senior.
That
Yeah,
is-
intriguing 60 or senior.
That is, I've never ever said that Jake Hayner was a potential even day 2 quarterback. I said he's a day 3, whatever.
We got to pull receipts. We're pulling receipts on that.
Matt has
after
a
the
whole
show.
folder on his computer full of this. I don't know if you.
I had,
Matt has
to
a
get,
whole-
I had to get a second computer because of that stuff.
Matt has this whole folder of things that I've said about like Kyle McCord that he is never going to get to use. So you're just. How much storage space do you have on your computer dedicated?
I don't.
To
It's on my
things that-
other computer. I now have to
External
use this
hard
one
drive.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You're gonna
it's external hard
you're gonna
drive,
have
yeah.
to get an external hard drive, go to Staples or something like that, and just keep that stuff. You're not gonna be.
They're
able
gonna
to use
raid
it.
Matt's house for his receipts, man.
Unused receipts. Depth charts came out this week. Some interesting names, not where you would expect them to be. Let's start at Alabama. Ja'Cory Brooks, not listed as the starter. And not only is he not listed as the starter, I don't think that anybody was hyping Kobe Prentice as being someone who could potentially make an impact in year 1. No Dojo Earl, no Ja'Cory Brooks in the starting lineup. Kobe Prentice, Trayshawn Holden, Austin. Are these just guys, or is this the Alabama receiving core of old, and they're just rebuilding with new names?
He'll never listen to the content, so we know that he will never know that you just said that. But Alfred has been a huge Kobe Prentice guy since day one. He had him as like his 3rd wide receiver in the class or something like absurd. So shout out to him. He won't ever hear this. Don't go tell him. Don't go snitching. That we said something nice about him here on this show. And I actually also want to give a shout out to the Devy Royale guys who months ago had projected Holden to be a starter here. Now I think this isn't like Prentice only has his job because Earl got injured and Aaron Anderson has been banged up. Like they're a lot of things got us here at the same time. Like Prentice, obviously the guy that stepped out over some more experienced players. Holden's not taking advantage of any injury. Ja'Cory Brooks just didn't take this job like we thought he would. I mean, so I think that's really, really interesting. I do wonder, like, Earl's going to cut. They say Earl's going to come back this year. When Earl comes back, I wonder how good does Prentice have to be to keep him off the field? When Aaron Anderson's back, how good does he have to be to keep Aaron Anderson off the field? Like, I'm curious if this is just like you're the starter, and as long as you don't mess this up, you're good to go, or if there's going to be somebody to eventually come back in. So I think that's something to watch for with Prentice. But if I am in like a deep Devy league or a Campus Canton league, I'm sniffing around that owner and seeing what I can possibly move for him. It might be too late.
This is really, really hard because in 2020 you had Mookie Cooper, Julian Fleming was the number 1 wide receiver, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and G. Scott all go to, like, we're playing the averages here. You got four opportunities to get, a fantasy relevant receiver, and they're going where? To quote unquote wide receiver U, Ohio State. One guy, the other guy transferred, hadn't even played. The other guy's a backup tight end. Now we go to this 2021 class between JoJo Earl, Ajay Hall, and Ja'Cory Brooks. Ja'Cory Brooks a backup. JoJo Earl can't stay healthy.
Christian
and Ajay
Leary
Hall,
too.
And Christian Leary.
Yeah.
A backup. And then Ajay Hall might not ever play football again. He probably will. They're at Texas, but running with threes. It's just really, it's really, really hard. It's really hard to get this right. All right.
So I have a question about Holden real quick. Do we think any part of that is veteran deference, or do we think it's legit Holden won that job? Because
Holden was good in the spring game last year, though.
He was awful
last year.
Spring game last year. He got targeted a lot.
Yes,
but he was literally like 5 yard out, catch, tackle immediately, no wiggle, no juice. He was like the most. I can't believe this dude was ever recruited by Alabama, based on what athletically he showed in that game. He was not an Alabama level athlete at all. This is actually shocking to me that he's even on the 2 deep. I'm he feels like a prime guy where if you have him, you sell him now because I don't think
Immediately.
Like
Yesterday when the depth chart came out. Yeah.
And this isn't like I love Jacory. Like there's just so much other talent on that team that is so much better than he is that I think by the end of the year, by week like 5 or 6, I think this is no longer him.
I think we've gotten used to seeing explosive plays from Alabama. It's hard for me to really see how that's going to come this year because if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm concentrating pretty much everything on Jermaine Burton's going to get my best corner and probably have a safety shaded to him. And then I am watchful for Jahmyr Gibbs, and I don't want to see him like line up outside. I don't want to see him on a linebacker or somewhere out in the slot. Those would be my focuses because I'm not worried about Trayshawn Holden. I'm not worried about Kobe Prentice. I'm not worried about Cameron Latu beating me. And we're going to see, very early on, week 2, we're going to see them play Texas. Texas's offense, there's a chance that Texas's offense is more explosive, produces more explosive plays than Alabama. And we're going to see Bill O'Brien versus Steve Sarkisian and who can put up the most explosive plays. Chris Moxley, you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to remark that how much do you think Saban doesn't like that 2021 class he recruited? Like, I have a feeling that he does not like any of those dudes a whole lot. He was very active in the portal this offseason. I think that tells a lot about that class.
He's talked consistently about how inconsistent the wide receivers from that class has been, and obviously one of them is no longer even on the team. Speaking of wide receivers, Emmanuel Henderson, who was the number 1 running back in the class according to 24/7 Sports, is listed as a wide receiver. Who'd have thunk it? Well, we did at Campus to Canton. He was in our second tier or third tier as running backs. I think it definitely wasn't the first. Anyway, we mentioned in the analysis of Henderson this is a 6'2", lanky, thin frame guy who doesn't really look like a running back. And then in high school, he was used on tosses and outside zones and things that didn't allowed him to use his speed and not necessarily manipulate blockers and get to the second level. So is he a running back? Well, we learned that he is not, despite being a 5-star. Austin, I want to come back to you on the 2 freshmen starting at Kentucky, Dane Key, Barian Brown, both of whom you were high on. I've seen more of Brown than I have of Key. Do we care though? Like, are we going to see, are you expecting the explosive Wan'Dale Robinson screen pass, run after the catch? Like, are these 2 going to be productive there with Will Levis in Lexington?
It's a really difficult question. I thought Brown would sit the bench this year because he profiles kind of like he's way bigger than Wan'Dale. He's like 6'1". Like Wan'Dale is 5'7", 170 or whatever. Barian's like 6'1", 170 or whatever. He needs to gain some weight. I thought that would be his role. So for him to have that Z job, like that flanker role locked up early is actually really intriguing to me. I think that makes me think that he's further along as a receiver than I anticipated him being at this stage. Like I had no questions about him athletically. Pound for pound, he's one of the best athletes in this entire class. He's like 99th percentile burst and like speed and acceleration and agility and all these kind of, athletic marks you look for. So it surprised me he's starting, but I think he's got a chance to be he was committed to Bama for a long time before he flipped to Kentucky. So I really like him a lot. I still I've been on record, I think, on this show when we did like our deep freshman that breaks out this year. I said Dane Key, but I think in the long term, Key is still kind of a limited guy. He's a little tight. He's pretty much a straight line guy. He's going to play on the boundary. I think you can win. You have him win deep a little bit, but I'm not sure what else he does beyond that. So I am interested to see overall how they fit in with this offense this year. Reports out of camp have not been good for this passing offense. Like at Kentucky, like Will Levis has not looked good. Supposedly, like the offense has not been able to move the ball consistently. It doesn't help that they don't have Chris Rodriguez there, who's one of the most efficient rushers in SEC history. So I'm actually really I actually don't predict either of them have like amazing years, but just the fact that they're on the field, I think is very, very telling and is a great thing for them and for us.
Did you see Nate? What's his handle? CFF Nate. Nate Marquise. An excellent mind. Works here at Campus K with us. He tweeted about this earlier. Actually, he said they have a new offensive coordinator, all new receivers, missing Rodriguez. They're without their best lineman, and they're without their offensive line coach who went to Alabama. Like, this offense might be really bad. Like, I'm skeptical. I share the exact same skeptical notion that you do, that we might just have really bad offense. I don't think it's good when 2 freshman receivers start for you in the SEC. If I'm just throwing that out there, like, I don't think that's a good thing. You really want more depth than that. I'm excited for those guys. I mean, I like Darian Brown. I think Dane Key was the talk of camp for the most part. A lot of beat reporters were talking about how awesome he looked both in the spring and the fall. But I don't know, that's a good thing. Like, I don't know if you want 2 true freshmen starting each week. Like, it's cool, but like, football wise, I'm not sure it's good.
Another, I don't know, surprising or noticeable depth chart decision was the decision to list Luke Altmyer and Jackson Dart as co-starters for Ole Miss. I think that Lane Kiffin has kind of proven that we should be at least paying attention to his quarterback, Matt Corral, an NFL draft pick, very productive college player. Jackson Dart comes in from USC. We expected him to kind of be, it sounded like he and Michael Trigg were a packaged deal and that they would be throwing touchdowns to each other, for this season. It doesn't appear, at least at this point, that that's the case. Luke Altmyer, who came in the bowl game and was okay. Matt, what are you doing with this particular depth chart? If anything, it feels like Jackson Dart is a hold, Luke Altmyer is a hold, and wait and see. But it's not like you can start either of these guys right now.
Yeah, I don't think you can start. If you wanted to, or if you had to start one, if, say, you drafted in believing that Jackson Dart was going to be the guy, I actually don't think I'd feel that bad about starting him this week. He does get Troy. I think he is going to be the starter. I mean, we talked a little bit about this. I think it was pre-show last week or a little bit. They also listed Michael Trigg as the backup tight end as the starter. Like, come on. Michael Trigg is not going to be the backup. He's going to be the starter. I think a lot of this is something we've talked about a lot when it comes to Texas and a lot of these other schools. It's being a little bit indifferent toward the guy that you don't want to transfer out or lose. All the reports leading up to this last couple of weeks for Ole Miss, I believe it was up until may have been Monday last week. I think was kind of like the last little bit of reports that I was like actually really paying attention to was Dart had jumped Altmyer. And if the season were to have started Tuesday, he was going to be the starter. I don't believe then that he just goes out a couple days later as Lane Kiffin comes out literally before the depth chart is dropped and says, we're not naming a starting quarterback. And then Luke Altmyer, who A comes before D, last I checked in the alphabet, gets listed above Dart as an starter. And everybody's like, Luke Altmyer beat out Jackson Dart. Here we go. Like, calm down, people. Dart's going to be the starter. I guarantee he probably starts with the as soon as Ole Miss gets the ball. I think he's going to be pretty good for Troy. Like, people are criticizing him for moving from an offense completely different from what he was running at USC, completely different weapons, complete different everything, going over there and having to learn an entire new system with an entire new set of receivers outside of Michael Trigg. And because Luke Altmyer, as you mentioned, was there, who was playing with these guys, had a pretty good bowl game because Matt Corral got hurt. And we're going to criticize Dart because he couldn't go in there and beat him out right away? Really? Like, I think Dart's going to be fine.
So now you see the light on the incumbent actually having a leg up in the quarterback competition, given that he's been in the system.
I have openly admitted that you two were right on CJ Stroud. Like, I mean, I'm not afraid to take L's and admit them in public. I don't come out here. I'm just the hero that everybody needed, or the villain that people need for this show. Like, I'll take the L. I took an L on CJ Stroud. You guys were right.
People want to talk about Altmyer kind of struggling in that bowl game last year. So Luke Altmyer in that bowl game against the Baylor defense that was very, very good last year. And I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. 15 for 28 for 174 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Coming off the bench cold, was not expecting to touch the field that game, had like 8 pass attempts the entire year leading up to that. Like, not the ideal situation. I thought he acquitted himself pretty well. Looking at some of Baylor's defensive game logs last year, guys, a certain quarterback that we love, that we absolutely love, went 9 for 18 for 142 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions against them. Anyone want to take a guess as to what Big 12 quarterback last season put up that performance against Baylor?
Was it the King Caleb Williams?
It was Caleb Williams.
Oh my God. He's untouchable though.
So just, I think like people were like, well, Altmaier, he struggled in that bowl game. It's like, man, like I think for the circumstances, he actually played very, very well in that bowl game. Like I still think Dart is probably overall a better player, but like Luke Altmaier is a perfectly good player in his own right. I think if he wanted to transfer and go somewhere else, he could play a lot of places.
I agree, which is why I think they've handled it the way they're handling it. Like, no, I'm not trying to say, what I said was me trying to say Altmaier's a bad player. I don't think that. I just think that's why everybody's criticizing Dart for not coming in and immediately beating out Altmaier a week into camp. Altmaier is a good quarterback, and he's already been their lows that system. Like, it's not going to be easy for a guy like Dart to just come in and immediately be the starter.
I'll go as far as to say that Altmaier's performance in that game as a freshman was just as impressive as Drake May's debut last week against Florida A&M. Like,
well, I was just told by you that sucks, so Dart should definitely start this weekend against Troy.
Chris Moxley in Ann Arbor, Jim Harbaugh, no Aiden Hutchinson, no David Ajabo. And the last I checked, those guys are getting replaced with like 3-star players. There aren't. I don't know that there's elite talent along that defensive line. Could be mistaken. The last time I looked, it feels like a lot is hanging on J.J. McCarthy being the 5-star guy who went to IMG, who can like elevate the entire, like the program, essentially. It seems like a lot is hanging on J.J. McCarthy to be that player after Michigan beat Ohio State last year, after they went in a playoff game. I think if you're a Michigan fan, you have to hope that he not only does he win this job, but that he proves to be someone who is different. What do you think the likelihood is that that's going to be the case for the Wolverines?
I don't know. Whatever Jim Harbaugh hears from
his
I feel like Harbaugh does this to all of us.
His priest. Yeah, whatever he hears from his priest on Sunday is probably what's going to happen next Saturday. So a little background for those who have not heard the situation. Apparently, his decision to start Cade McNamara week 1 and J.J. McCarthy week 2 is biblical, as if he is Moses carrying the Old Testament down, or the. I'm just laughing at Matt's. As if he's Moses going down the mountain, right? I don't know what the heck's going on here at Michigan. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I have no clue what is going on. J.J. McCarthy is the more exciting player. He is the big arm. He's flashy. He's fun. Caden McNamara is safe. He's a game manager, to be totally honest, and it was effective last year. It worked last year. It was good enough to get into the playoffs. Beat Ohio State. If you guys see that game, huge win at the end of the year. Really, really impressive game in their rivalry. Really exciting for the Michigan program. You should go back and watch it at some point. I don't think they could do that this year, and I think it's a lot of it is the same reasons that you brought up, Felix. Like, they don't have 2 studs on the defensive line. Their defensive line is going to be okay. I think it's going to be a good unit. I don't think it's going to be the same thing we saw last year. So they need a guy like McCarthy who can make plays that McNamara just
Aiden
can't.
Hutchinson and David Ajabo drove that team last year. They drove that team last year.
Yeah. And they have Mazai Smith, who I think is a good player, but he's a defensive tackle. And I think he's more of like a run stuffer than he is someone who's going to be like exploding the backfield and breaking through the line of scrimmage all that often. They just don't have the same talent. And so I think you need a guy like McCarthy, and I hope he wins the job. I'm not a J.J. McCarthy fan as much. I just think he's way too raw, and I'm not sure he could ever get there. He just plays way too out of structure for like NFL upside. But I think he could be a really good college quarterback, actually.
Last year, McNamara and that team getting to the playoff is the worst thing that could have possibly happened to Michigan and Michigan fans, right? Like, his hubris, like, haha, I can win the Big Ten with like literally a tackle dummy at quarterback, was not great for the long term there for them.
Yeah, I laughed, Moxley, because it's just embarrassing that dude beat Ohio State. It's just embarrassing that the guy who says that his QB
Aiden
decision is
Hutchinson.
biblical. I agree with you. It was
Hutchinson
Hutchinson
beat
and
Ohio State.
Ajabo. I mean, what
And
did
Hassan
McNamara
Haskins.
throw in that game? Like 8 ball? Would he have like 8 or 9 pass attempts in that Ohio State game? I don't even think he passed that much. So yeah, it was. I agree with Mox. Like I think McCarthy. The thing is, we know Harbaugh plays it safe. And if you go the biblical route, like. He's a dude who Cade McNamara is the nice little choir girl, and he's sitting there and she's pretty. And then you got the I don't want to say anything bad here.
You're stretching
girl
this analogy.
Am I?
You're
This
stretching.
analogy is terrible.
Okay,
It's absolutely terrible.
I apologize. He's gonna
Do
go.
you want to
with
keep
McCar-
trying? You want to keep
No,
going?
he's gonna go with McNamara. So there you go.
Do you want to talk
Mac-
about the
McNamara-
offering
no.
plate and what's the?
No, I was gonna say like I'm trying to think of a good way to describe JJ McCarthy without being off color or saying something that's gonna.
Yeah, we just got a new show. Let's not do
Yeah,
this.
let's not
just
do
move
this.
on.
There you go. Cade McNamara is gonna start for Michigan.
McNamara had 159 yards and an interception last year against Ohio State. Hassan Haskins had 169 yards and 5 touchdowns. So
How
I don't
many
think this
passes
was the
did he?
McNamara show.
Was it like 9? He had like 9 pass
He
attempts.
threw 19.
19. Okay.
Yeah, didn't
I
have to
think
throw a
Michigan-
whole lot.
I think Michigan is like a 7-win team this year, and that they're like the Outback Bowl or something like that. I don't think that this is a very good football team, but we are.
Oh,
going to see.
that's hot. That's the hottest take we've
They
heard
have a pretty
tonight.
easy schedule. Yeah.
They have a very easy schedule.
Is there anything else that we need to talk about? Is that it? I think that's it. Make sure you check us out on Saturday. Like we said, check us out on the Better Sports app tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And then on Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern time. C2C Army show out for us. And of course, I mean, we've always got the podcast network, the articles. 90% of our content is free. But if you want to support campus2canton.com, it's only $2.99 a month to get you started, to play in the fastest growing format that there is. The best format that there is. The most all-encompassing format that there is. That's going to be our show for tonight. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled soon for Matt Bruning and Austin Nace and Chris Moxley. I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck.